Well, we haven't done this in a while. I welcome you to tonight's Big Pauly's Bits. It is a live chat. It is April 28th, 2021, and it was 1 year ago today that I started doing this channel, focusing on board-like sports games. And now, of course, we're playing a board game when we use Glory Days Boxing. So hello to you all. This is Big Pauly coming to you, of course. And we have had some breaking news develop here in the sports gaming community in the last 48 minutes. Dave Koch has released Action PC Football 2021. And so we're going to adapt to some breaking news. Hello, Al, Red Sox fan. I sent you a message on Facebook, sir, if you wanted to join on board. I know Uncle Ron's going to be doing his unboxing at 7:30. I'm going to do mine Friday in full. I'm just going to show you that there is proof of life that this Action PC 2021 has been released, and there it is, folks. I haven't really messed around with the nuts and bolts of it yet because it just was released at 6/12, and I downloaded it shortly thereafter. I got the deluxe set because I wanted to get the 2020 season. I've been playing Action PC Football going back to 2009. And I have the seasons going back to 1956, and I have a few from the 40s and 30s and so forth. So let me see here. We could take a look at this real fast. And it is just showing the game screen. I'm having the problems you did, Al. Oh, you're on your walk. Cool, good. Good for Al. Brendan Baker, how are you, sir? There he is. It's been a while since I've used StreamWalk. Walking's important. And here was Al from a moment ago. Let me come over here and do this. And I am going to do the, let's see here. If I do screen capture, I probably could get it. So let me just remove this, stop this screen. And if I go to share screen and I go to screen one, the last time I did this was when I only had one monitor. So this is a whole different barrel of monkeys here. There we go. Now I could show you things in and out. Enjoying a fine cigar. Well, that's the only way to be, Al. I mean, Brendan, I'm getting you two mixed up. I shouldn't be doing that. So here's what Action PC 2021 looks like when you open up the screen. And from here, it kind of looks like what 2020 looks like, but there have been changes. And Uncle Ron was mentioning that on his baseball game that he just did that was released on YouTube between Detroit and New York, which he did yesterday on Twitch. So he's going to go through Action PC 2021 tonight, and I am going to do the same Friday, and we'll play a game out on the new Action PC 2021. I'll give Uncle Ron the chance because he did call it. He did call shotgun, so I'm going to give it to him. And I think that's the only way to be. But I just wanted to show you proof of life regarding Action PC 2021 being Action PC Football 2021. Usually the golf game is also out by now, but again, COVID and everything that has been going on with that, I would imagine that would also be, pardon me folks, as I just removed the screen grab that I just showed you. So yeah, Action PC 2021 is out for football. And it looks kind of nice, but I really haven't digged into the nuts and the bolts of it. So 1 year ago, we started this little venture. I did. Here I go with the wheeze again. And, I didn't know how far I was going to go with it because I was a little behind with the hardware. I just got a second monitor September, and that has made things a lot easier. When you do sports games, you got to have two monitors. Otherwise, when you record screens and all that, it's easy to get all messed up. and the like. I worked on Grand Slam Wrestling, which I'm going to release tomorrow. I did the Minneapolis final. I'm not going to tell you who's in it. That's a spoiler. But I got a call. I get calls from the hucksters quite frequently, and it's like they don't value your time. I got into it with one of them, and I recorded it, and I'm actually going to put it up on the channel tomorrow after I put up the GSW matches. I got it all ready to go. And this happened. If you looked at my OOTP video, it's like every time I do a video, it's like they know about it, and and happy interview by yourself. Sub paper, the 1 year anniversary gift. Yeah, Brandon. Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. Well, what went on is that I was doing OOTP. I did OOTP around 4 o'clock, and then I called the match for Grand Slam Wrestling a little after 5 Eastern time, United States East Coast time. So if anybody is seeing this in England, or other countries all over the world, that's why I always say United States Eastern Daylight Time, because you never know. We have had, and Al could attest to this, when I was doing some of the HTFL games live, that we had people from England who dropped by, and that was wonderful. Forget the fella's name who dropped by from England, but that's why I always say United States East Coast time, Eastern Daylight Time, is because you never know. Luke Brown, how are you doing? Hey, all, congratulations on 1 year, BP. Yeah, I thought it was a 50-50 bet that I would make it 1 year doing this. But, of course, COVID's still going on, unfortunately. Of course, the president will be speaking tonight on this, so I'm going to try to end this by 9 o'clock Eastern time, because that's kind of an important event in the real world, and I don't want anybody thinking that the real world isn't important, because it is, and the ongoing struggle with COVID, and maybe light at the end of the tunnel, maybe more money for us with another stimulus check. They're talking about that. The Democrats are talking about that. But then again, there are complaints that, not a lot of people are finding work because the money, the stimulus money, is going a long way. But that's political, and I don't want to get too far on politics. And let's see here. Struggling a bit in bronze 3240, but I pulled a 100 Eddie Murray. Congratulations, Brendan. Congratulations. An Eddie Murray card. That guy was a 300 hitter for so long that I imagine his perfect card is going to be quite good. Yeah, Brendan. I had somebody call me while I was doing the video. I'm like, you know what? If they're not going to stop calling me, then I'm just going to treat them like they're stupid. And yeah, Eddie Murray, the perfect cards on OOTP. Yeah, that is. I went through a whole season, and I did 100 videos on OOTP 21 from late April last year to late March this, and I never got a perfect card. Never got a perfect card. In OOTP 20, I think I had at least 3 perfect cards. And I try to be very transparent when I do Perfect Team, show you all what I do. I don't do things most of the time off camera. So what you see is what you get with what I do on OOTP. And let's see, Luke, I was very lucky. About jumped out of my seat. Yeah. Because the odds of getting a perfect card on OOTP are like, what is it, like 1 in 1,000? I'm trying to think of it offhand. 1 in 1,000 to get a perfect card. And it's possible you could go through a whole season not getting a perfect card. Luke will attest to the fact that I pulled nothing but cards, and he helped me out with that. I think was a Bert Hooton card that I sold him, and he bought it for an incredible price. And I pulled like did bronze pull after bronze pull after bronze pull, and nothing wound up happening. Maybe when you get to that point in the game, the perfect cards are at a premium. That's one. I think it's 1 in 1,000 cards, but maybe it is 1 in 1,000 packs because they don't specify. They don't tell you what the odds are. They say it's 1 in 1,000, but as Luke is pointing out, 1 in 1,000 what? Because they don't tell you. They don't tell you it's 1 in 1,000 cards or 1 in 1,000 packs. That's an excellent point, Luke. So we'll try to end this by 9 o'clock Eastern time. And so far, where are we on time? We are at 10 minutes after 7. So I just wanted to show you that I did download Action PC Football 2021. We'll be playing the HTFL starting in September. 100 players to a team. And this is beautiful. What else was there on my mind? Oh, down here there's a sports controversy because the Rays beat the A's last night 4-3, and we have a very good center fielder in Kevin Kiermaier. In fact, they just started their game right now, and Tyler Glasnow is on the bump for Tampa Bay. Best pitcher the Rays have for sure by now, but you can get to him. And it's going to make it for an interesting night because he runs hot and cold. He runs hot and cold during the course of a game. But Kevin Kiermaier made a play in the outfield that was questionable. He just snatched the ball away from Randy Arozarena. You ever see? I'm sure you are all old enough to have seen the original Bad News Bear movie, Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau. And Jackie Earl Haley plays Kelly Leak, and he's going all over the place, and he's making plays. It's just to make sure nobody in the outfield is screwing up. And that's what Kiermaier did. And during the press conference after the game, he's like, "Hey, I'm the best. I'm the best outfielder in the game." I'm like, "What?" I didn't really like that. Yeah, Luke, I posted that up a few places. Yes, Randy Arozarena. There was a play in the game Friday against Toronto where nobody had a bead on where a fly ball was. Of course, Tropicana Field, you could really have a hard time seeing the ball because the roof is like a light color, and it's a night game. And everybody has lost sight of the ball. The shortstop, the center fielder, and the right fielder all lost sight of the ball. And even the announcers, Dwayne Statz and Brian Anderson, were getting alarmed. And here comes Arozarena making the catch, made a diving catch in left field. And, Statz and BA don't usually talk at the same time. They both went, "Oh, Arozarena made the play." And a few days later, this happens where Kiermaier makes the play in front of Arozarena, and Arozarena is a good hitter. Maybe not the best left fielder, but still, you don't do that. You don't do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's a harbinger of things to come. Just like when Blake Snell was always getting pulled out of games early when he was a Ray. Of course, now he's with San Diego, and of course, Game 6 of the World Series happens when Snell's, going along good, and Kevin Cash just yanks him, and I think he was only like at about 75, 80 pitches. And that was the game. And everybody watching the game that I know, my friends, was saying, "That's the ball game. That's the ball game. We blew it." Tampa Bay had a good bullpen, but, the Dodgers are... If they had played all the games last year, we'd be talking about the Dodgers winning nearly 120 games. So that happened. Oh, yeah, good film. Bad News Bears was a great film with Walter Matthau playing to watch the pitcher who's now a Little League coach who probably shouldn't have even been coaching. So let me get rid of my banner because I forgot to do that. I didn't mean for the banner to be on that long. Okay, that's vanished. Okay, so what else has been happening? So the schedule for the next few days will show you the Grand Slam Wrestling Monarch of the Met circuit tournament finals in Minneapolis and St. Louis tomorrow. I already recorded half of that. Friday, I'm going to do the Action PC 2021 unboxing, even though I just showed you a little piece of it. Go over to Twitch and watch Uncle Ron Juckett break down all the new bells and whistles Action PC 2021 will have. And I'll have a few months to play with it until we start doing HTFL games. And we're going to do a Season 2, which is going to start September 6th, Labor Day. So, what else has been in the news lately? The Lightning doing well here. Everybody excited about the Bucks because they signed Antonio Brown, and they're moving cap money around. And the thing about the Bucks is, remember the old HBO show Curb Your Enthusiasm? I think that's what we have to do. Speaking as a Bucks fan personally, I think Tampa Bay's got a very good chance of returning to the Super Bowl, but you got to win. Nobody has ever won 3 Super Bowls, and it's been getting harder and harder to win 2, because the last team to do it was New England. They won 38 and 39 Super Bowls, 38 and 39. We haven't had a repeat champion since. So you got to think that somebody will figure out the Buccaneers. It's just the evolution of professional football. It's like the old Boston Celtics when they had Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, and somebody figures them out. It seems to happen in all sports. It's these days. It's kind of hard for anybody to repeat. Increasingly tougher for teams to repeat as champions, whether it's in the NHL or baseball or. Although I wouldn't doubt the Dodgers might repeat. I don't see the Rays making. They might make the first few rounds of the playoffs, but then again, they may not. So let's see what Brendan was saying. I know you have lots of Rays on your teams. I just checked. I have no Rays on my OOTP team, which is Mayberry Drum Corps, and they play at Fife Field. Yeah, you were telling me that earlier, Brendan. And it's funny because I watch a few Andy Griffith shows when I can. And of course, Andy Griffith was a TBS stable, and you would always get like an Andy Griffith show right before the Braves played. Another good old days. Another part of the good old days that's gone now in the world of sports. Braves baseball on TBS. And we got cable. I think I mentioned this a few places. We got cable in the late 70s, and there were superstations that would come and go. Like the first superstation we had was the Channel 6 out of Miami. And then by 79, we had WTBS. And, we had Championship Wrestling from Florida on at 7. On Channel 44 here in Tampa, and the Georgia Wrestling would be on in 6. So on 2 different cable stations was Gordon Soley, which is kind of interesting. He was competing against himself. What else was there? But sometimes, the Braves would play San Francisco or a team on the West Coast, and they wouldn't run the wrestling until after 8 o'clock. Remember Dale Murphy and everyone else. Braves of the 80s. Well, the Braves actually went to the playoffs. What year did they make? It was the year the Cardinals and the Brewers were in, which I think was the year after the strike in 1982. So the Braves had a good team. And Joe Torre was their manager before he went on and did great things with the New York Yankees in the late 90s. Yeah. Somebody played the it might have been Dave and Ron. Somebody was playing the tapes of Joe Torre getting into it when he was a skipper of an umpire over our call, skipper of the Braves. Trying to think who that was. who ran the tape. I heard the tape somewhere, and of course, it's an uncensored conversation. And when you have differing points of view between coaches and umpires, they don't talk politely to each other. So a lot of expletives were being uttered by both sides. And, one thing managers could do is they could utter the F word with impunity. Earl Weaver. Earl Weaver is another example of that. Somewhere else, I was hearing somebody had a tape of Earl Weaver, and he's doing a pregame show for the Baltimore Orioles network. And yeah, it was just expletive laced. And let's see, nothing happening in the Rays A's game yet. I wonder if they're going to play in the afternoon tomorrow because Oakland's got to get away. When they play in the afternoon, it doesn't usually air on TV here in Florida. And the Rays, by the way, they were statewide. They're statewide on cable TV. It's no longer Fox Sports. It's Bally's Sports, but you could watch the games in Orlando. I went a few years back. I went to Orlando for a couple of days, and you could watch the Rays games over there. Earl Weaver was the professor of cuss. Yes, very true, Brendan. Very true indeed. So getting back to the Rays, yeah, but I don't really think I go out of my way to get Tampa Bay Rays on my team. They just come to me. I think that's how it's been working. You've been seeing. I've been doing auctions lately just to shore up the pitching and to shore up the weaker positions on the team, and I'm going to go back to just doing pulls. It was like I was telling the fella who commented on my one of my recent OOTPs. I know I'm not going to have the best team and perfect team, and I know I'm not going to have the worst team and perfect team. So you might as well just enjoy the ride, and that's what I try to do with it. I don't try to be ultra competitive with it. I just try to enjoy it. So it is what it is, and I don't really try to push. I just try to be a nice guy with it, and that's that. So what else has been going on? Oh yeah, Glory Days Boxing. Let me mention that a little bit because I think that's a great game. I know boxing's kind of a lost art these days, especially with UFC, and I think wrestling's trying to hang with UFC, although I kind of wonder what's going to happen with the WWE once Vince McMahon goes to the great beyond. I kind of wonder what the future of wrestling will look like. You want to ask a good question about pro wrestling history? What if Vince McMahon does not go national with the WWF? What happens? I've never heard that question asked on these podcasts, although I subscribe to a few podcasts, and I'm looking forward to hearing later on tonight. In fact, this is what I want. This is my little podcast role here. Barry Rose, who's a good guy. I've talked to him before. Gambling with an Edge, because Bob Dancer has chimed in on a few of my Facebook posts, and if you look real close, that's the Ron Fuller Studcast. And that's one of my favorites. And I also listen to 605. Charting the Territories is another good one because Al Getz is a good little stats geek when it comes to wrestling and who's on the top of the card. And he really is analytical in terms of, okay, these guys are on the top of the card, and he gives them statistical ratings. And I think it's neat. But again, that's the nerd. That's the nerd in me because I used to do stats for basketball and football when I was in high school back in the 80s. So let's see. Well, I'm a big Reds fan, says Brendan Baker. Let me show you. and I ended up with a few on mine. Yeah. How are you guys? Al, I don't know how much Perfect Team you play. If you want to chime in, go ahead. Uh, I like using the historical players on OOTP as opposed to the live players because with a historical player, they don't fluctuate in value. It's kind of like picking a stock. If you pick a historical player, then their place in history is secure. But if you pick a live player, like say, I have Brendan Lau on my team from the Tampa Bay Rays, who plays second base for him. But if Brendan Lau in real life has a few bad starts, then his stock value, the value of his card goes down, and vice versa. You could have a reliever who right now is say a 65, has a 65 rating, and he could go to 80 on you. So, yeah, it's kind of the way it is. So what else? Also, before I get too farther on my blog, I just not my blog, but my this live chat that I'm doing. Also wanted to publicly thank Al for having me on his show a couple of times. We had Tom Vogel of Wrestling's Finest on, and then the following night it was me, him, and Dave Gardner shooting the breeze for a couple of hours, and that was a lot of fun. Although when they started talking about Godzilla and King Kong, I was like, okay. Because that's a new movie that's out, Godzilla and King Kong. It's like, who would win? Well, if you put Godzilla against King Kong, nobody would win, because he'd probably, you put those two in a fight, the city underneath them would be laid to waste. So there's that. What other material I wanted to share with you all? The NFL draft is tomorrow. I used to love the NFL draft, but I don't put a lot of stock in it nowadays. I've seen too many good players coming out of college go bust in the pros. For instance, I thought Matt Sanchez was going to be a great quarterback. He turned pro, and of course, he had one of the most embarrassing plays on one Thanksgiving night in a game with the Jets and the Patriots, the famous butt fumble. It's kind of hard to tell anymore who's going to be a good player out of colleges and turns into a good player in the pros. It's not as easy as it used to be. And of course, I thought Tim Tebow was going to wind up being a good player when he was with the Denver Broncos. And then the Denver Broncos said, we're going to go with Peyton Manning, Tebow. You just sit on the bench. And of course, Tebow then went on and played with the Mets in their organization a little bit. I prefer historicals as well, but I will say that my best card, besides the Murray, is a 99 Shane Bieber. Yeah, Shane Bieber is lights out. Shane Bieber is lights out right now with Cleveland. By the way, no score still in the... It looks like it's no score, yes. It's kind of hard to tell the way Bally's does their graphics on the bottom, who has done what, because you got to look all the way over to the bottom left side of the screen. And that's where the lighting I have in my room is. So, so there's that. And speaking of, I know we'll do a few things get you through these 2 hours. Wanted to show you what I've been working on in OOTP 22. Because when I'm not playing Perfect Team, I have created this kind of classic baseball league using modern players. So I thought I would show that to you as kind of a time filler. I'm getting that fixed up here on the other monitor. The one thing I love about the 3D models is you could pull... There are people who work on these models on the OOTP message boards, and they create these wonderful fields. 3D stadiums of days past, like old Yankee Stadium and the Polo Grounds. So a few days ago, I was thinking, what if you put modern day players in the old arenas? me see what we got here. Sometimes you get a chance. Check out the YouTube channel Secret Base, but specifically the videos called Chart Party. Some very interesting, often funny statistical looks from sports. Oh yeah, yeah. Secret Base, huh? Okay. There is one series of YouTube videos where they look at rules and how they apply to how they've applied over the years to baseball and football and so forth. Like they looked at the famous Georgia Tech Cumberland game from 1919, where Georgia Tech won 222 to nothing. And there's another one of these channels or series that looked at oddities in the rules, like Game 5 of the '76 NBA Finals, how Phoenix got a timeout when they didn't have timeouts, but it caused them to advance to the center of the court, and they wound up getting a basket tying the game and sending it to it. That is a great game. Two great sports events took place in '76. There was the George Foreman-Ron Lyle fight. If you've never seen that, see it. And a few months later, they had, and Super Bowl X wasn't too bad either. I have seen that a few times. The first Steeler-Cowboy Super Bowl. And then in the summer of '76, they had that great game between the Celtics and the Suns, where the Suns put up plenty of fight before losing to the Celtics in triple OT. Oh, I know what you're talking about now. What if Barry Bonds, I think I have seen that. What if Barry Bonds never brought a bat to home plate? What a fierce hitter he was. And of course, he was on the gas. So, I don't know how you guys feel about Barry Bonds going to the Hall of Fame. Is he in a different category than Pete Rose is? Because I think Pete Rose, personally, I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame before he dies. He just turned 80 a few weeks back. And every NFL. Oh yes, you're into scorigami. I see, Brendan. Yeah, scorigami. I love scorigami because in the NFL, yeah, there are unique scores that happen like at least one time every year. It's not like baseball. It's not like basketball where you're going to have the same score all the time. How many baseball games have been decided 1-0, for instance, or 7-6. Scorigami like happens almost every, at least once every year. Yeah, that's that. I love that every score ever, and like I said, you see every score ever. it updates. See what else you're saying there, Brandon. Pete must be in. I never state my opinions on hardly anything, but Pete must get. Yeah, it would be a great tragedy if Pete Rose was not allowed in the Hall of Fame while alive to enjoy it, because my theory on Pete Rose is that he did his crime. He did his time for his crime. He bet on baseball. He used his expertise of baseball, and of course, he was a gambler. He was on the NFL Today show, filling in for Jimmy the Greek Snyder a few times in the '70s and early '80s. I'm old enough to remember that. Kind of, and had to make everybody wonder, what's Pete Rose doing as a gambler? Sorry, folks. And I got another jug of water here. Always got to keep yourself nourished when you're behind computers, because the computers could sometimes get hot. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that, Brendan. I am a proponent for letting Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame now. I think he's done his sentence. They should never. He never should have gotten into. They did say he was banned for life, but I mean, sometimes when you have a life sentence, you do get parole. So I'm very much a proponent for Pete Rose getting to the Hall of Fame one of these days. And I kind of wonder what the Hall of Fame's ever going to do with guys like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa. What's ever going to happen to these guys? You can't erase them from history, what they have done. They hit all those home runs. Mark McGwire is another one. Mark McGwire at one point did have the home run record, and then Barry Bonds broke it in 2001. Yeah, for what Rose did, I think he's overpaid. He's overpaid his sentence. Most definitely. So I'm just going to show you while, and we could chat while this is going on. Oops, I don't want to share a video file, especially not my video files. Thank you very much. Actually, we'll do this. There we go. And I could show you a little OOTP baseball. And this is from my classic league of baseball, the club that I play privately. It is the Yankees. Now, the way I did this was I took all the teams presently, the 60, and broke it down to the classic 16, and the 14 modern teams were all drafted by the 16. So I picked the St. Louis Browns to play because that's Baltimore. And Baltimore, I wanted a team that would struggle, and I wanted to see if I could take them to the top. So this is about May in terms of the season. Let's see, okay. Wanted to show the stats. The Yankees are 12-21, which kind of mimics how they are in the real world these days. And I started in 2020, so eventually this league will have players that don't exist in it, and the historical players will eventually go away. But this is Sportsman's Park in St. Louis. I put everybody in their classic park. I don't have any two teams in one park. Like for instance, in Philadelphia, I have the Philadelphia A's at Shibe Park, which was old Connie Mack Stadium, and I have the Phillies playing at the Baker Bowl. So this is the Yankees against the St. Louis Browns, which is actually the Baltimore Orioles, and I just took the 14 teams that came into life after the Classic 16, put them in a draft pot, drafted, everybody got to draft. And there is no DH, there is no reserve, there's no free agency. You have the reserve system, the reserve clause. And I just wanted to show you how these classic parks look. So Kevin Biggio who of course in real life plays with Toronto, is facing Alex Cobb, the former Ray. And we might not get through a whole game, but I'll just show you how it looks. I'm with Al. I like the low home plate camera looking outward to the infield. I saw him doing that on his channel. And Biggio hits it to Taveras, the center fielder for St. Louis / Baltimore, 1 out in the top of the first. Aaron Hicks hitting for the... And guys, if you got questions, go ahead and ask me. Hicks struck out. Remember Alex Cobb when he played with the Tampa Bay Rays? He got hit in the head by a line drive one day. And I haven't done much with OOTP historical, Brendan says. Can you take classic teams and match them up in a tourney or a league? Yes to both. I'd love to get my 1990 Reds, maybe the 84 Cubs. Some big red machine, maybe. Yes, if you could think it, you could do it. And that's the great thing about OOTP. It's not just Perfect Team that the game does. It can do anything you want it to do. Fictionally, if you want to say you want to run a league in Ireland and you want to have a bunch of guys with Irish names playing, like, Kieran McNulty, I just thought of that name out of random. So 2 out in the first, top of the first, and I forgot who was hitting here, and it is DJ LeMahieu. And this is the 2020 stats, and then fictional players eventually enter the league as the league progresses. But this is like May of 2020, and St. Louis had a 1-2-3 inning. See if I could change the camera angle here. Well, no. I'll kind of keep it as it is. And we'll go to the St. Louis bottom of the first. Now, when I use these old parks, I use the dimension settings. Like for instance, you could opt not to use the settings that come with each park. You could just have the engine base where, how many home runs are hit, how many doubles, triples, singles, and so forth, based to the dimensions, and I use that. And the games that I have been seeing so far, you don't see a lot of home runs, because if you set up the Polo Grounds, it's to the where the dimensions would be in line with the stats. You wouldn't see a lot of home runs in the Polo Grounds because they have. Can I just replay past seasons? Oh yes, you can. Can you, if you want to play any season from the late 19th century onward, you can do it. You could put them in modern parks. You could do the exact reverse of what I'm doing. You can, if you really want to do a little research, and I wish OOTP would make this better. You could have a league with just say every player who has ever played for the New York Mets or the Angels or the Rays or the Cubs. Have to do a little research the way the game is set up now, but it can be done. It can absolutely be done. I enjoyed the podcast with Rich from OOTP on Digital to Dice. You didn't think he did well? Well, I just think they kind of came off. Rich kind of, and believe me, I'm not trying to pick a fight here, but I kind of thought Rich didn't come off too well. Rich is great on his own podcast, don't get me wrong, but I kind of thought he had a little bit of an ego because why, I don't know, and you'd have to ask him. He just came off like he had a little bit of attitude, and if that's how he wants to be, then that's how he wants to be. I personally don't think he treated Dave and Ron well. He just came off like we have the best game, and you shouldn't even be talking about Stratomatic or APBA or Pine Tar. And, it doesn't matter what you play. It doesn't matter what you play. If you play Strat, or if you play APBA, or if you play Kirk Bergman's fine game. It doesn't matter what you play. If you're enjoying yourself, that's... I grew up, the first game I ever played was Sherco Grand Slam Baseball, which was a dice game. And you could set... What I loved about it is you could set your defense. And Tavares hits this all the way to the wall. You'll see him motoring around second. He'll stay there. It's a stand-up double for him. And it was just what I sensed about the interview. I think I didn't really think Rich came off all that well, but he does his own podcast. And, he could have at least acknowledged on OOTP now that he was on Digital to Dice and do a little cross promotion. But that's just me. Luke, thank you for dropping by, buddy. I had to go and just coming back to say congratulations again, Big B. Here's to another great sports sims year. I have to go, babies. Oh, yeah, take care of those kitties, boy. Take care of those kitties, absolutely. But again, I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody. Actually, we had runners on second and third on that. So 1 out now, and it's Dylan Bundy pitching for New York. See if we can get something going here. That looks like it was well hit. That's going to score a couple of runs. It's going to be 2-0 Browns. Of course, this is back in an era. I set it up like post-World War II. So the LA Dodgers of current are the Brooklyn Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants are the New York Giants. I do have a draft, which in the World War II era, they did not have. It was just, that's how the Yankees got all the talent, like Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra and so forth, is because there was no draft. So let's see if the Browns get anything else going here in the first. And no, he strikes out. So they go to the second, and it's 2-0. You know what I ought to do? Because I'm a GM in this, is I should just let it play out. But the opinions I just expressed about OOTP are mine, nobody else's. Nobody's putting a gun to my head and saying all this. But yeah, I kind of thought Rich could have come off better. But that's just me. And I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just trying to give an opinion. Hit to the left fielder. No, that's a home run. That's a home run for Urshela. And it's 2-1 St. Louis. I haven't watched much of your football stuff, BP. How are my Colts doing? Well, the way I had it set up, and let me just show you the message. I haven't done season 2 yet. What I did was, okay, you take Indianapolis. Indianapolis has always been the Colts. Baltimore is the Colts of old, prior to when they moved to Indianapolis, and Irsay's little adventure where they left Baltimore in the middle of the night. And with Baltimore, it's the Colts plus the Ravens of 1996 and onward. Last year, Baltimore made the hometown bowl, and they lost to San Francisco. San Francisco is a combination of the 49ers and the Raiders, so I just call them the Gold Raiders. And they're going to be a tough team to beat. This year, with Action PC 2021, they're going to allow 100 players on a roster, so we're going to see more players in the HTFL, and I think that's going to help some of the better teams out. Las Vegas is not going to be helped out by that because Las Vegas has not been around all that long. They've only played in Vegas 1 year, so you're not going to see a lot of Vegas Raiders on the HTFL team. But I think the deeper teams are going to be helped out by that. So we're 2-1. Top of the second after the home run, and the Browns get out of the inning. That's right. Tony, I used to play Diamond Mine baseball, and thank you for that, sir. We play 1953 and 1963. I play on exact dates. Yeah. The inventor of OOTP was the brain behind it was Marcus Heinsohn. I am old enough, and I used to have DMB on DOS, and Marcus Heinsohn would write utilities for DMB, and they were very, very good. And I guess he decided he wanted to start his own game. And I have nothing against OOTP. There are a few things I wish they did better. Like, for instance, scheduling. Like, if you want, say, 12 teams, one league playing 162 games, then you can't play everybody equally. I wish, like DMB, they had like a scheduling wizard. So if you could figure out, okay, I got 14 teams, I got 2 divisions of 7. How do you play 162 games or 154 games? I wish they would make that better for everybody. Also, I noticed a few problems from time to time with, like, for instance, for many years, and I don't know if it's still true because I haven't looked, and that's the first out of the second inning for St. Louis. And by the way, in this league, I just invented in what I call the CLOB, the CLOB, pitchers hit. No DH, no limit in terms of how many batters a relief pitcher pitches to. No, we're going to put a runner at second base in the 10th inning. None of that. So let's see. Oh, that's a base hit. That's going to get to the center fielder. It won't go to the gap. It'll be a single. and that was a single for Garrett Cooper. Because I think the hit, I love when the pitcher hits. I love it when the pitcher hits. The American League hasn't done it since '73, but sometimes you get a good pitcher. You get a good hitting pitcher. Look at Ohtani with the Angels right now and the numbers he's putting up as a pitcher outfielder. So there's the bunt. It hung in the air, so the pitcher picked it up, and that's a pop fly out. 2 outs in the bottom of the second for Leody Taveras. But sometimes they get the biographical information wrong on OOTP. And the example I would have of that is when Frank Thomas, they'd always have Frank Thomas being born in Columbus, Ohio, when in fact he was born in Columbus, Georgia. And I think at one point he was nearly a tight end for Auburn. And of course, Auburn's not too far from Columbus on the east side of Alabama. So top of the third, and it's Dalton Varsho against Alex Cobb. But I love it when the pitcher hits. And I'm sorry that the National League got away from it last year, but I guess they're doing it this year. So there's 1 out in the third, because I'm looking at a few things here and there while I'm doing all of this, but I don't mind. And that's a strikeout for Cobb, but a passed ball. And that's an out because the throw got to first in time. Cavan Biggio, who really would be with Toronto, but New York drafted him. Ground ball to the second baseman over to the first baseman, and that's the third out. And it's 2-1 going into the bottom of the third. So we just might keep going until this game's over with. Bundy is at 35 pitches, and Jeff McNeil is up. McNeil's been one of my better hitters on this St. Louis team. Shortstop the first. That's the first out. And I love calling baseball. I just never get the chance to do it. So Bundy, 2 1/3, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. He's facing Iglesias right now. Jose Iglesias. That's right in front of the catcher. Catcher throws to first, and that's the second out. I've never heard of that game, Tony. First dice game I played was extra innings back to the late 70s. Yeah. First game I ever got was Sherco Grand Slam, and then I had Pursue the Pennant after that. I love I never got around to playing Stratomatic, and I want to do that someday. I had the computer version of Stratomatic back. It was the season where Mark McGwire was playing for Oakland at first, and then he played with St. Louis, and he hit 58 home runs. And I think I put him into some made-up leagues and see if he could get past Babe Ruth's mark, or at the time it was Roger Maris who had the home run record of 61. So that ended in the bottom of the third now. It's still 2-1. You all watched the game. I'll just talk to you all. Strikeout, Cobb looking good. LeMahieu up. See what he does. But I love this camera position. You turn the dynamic action camera off, and you just watch things from home plate. And I saw Al do that on his Red Sox Yankees games, and he's doing a series right now between the Red Sox of 1950 and the Yankees of 78. And that's been good. Al does a lot of baseball. There's a lot of baseball on different games and different platforms. And center fielder caught that. We're at the end of 3, and it's 2-1. So on to the fourth we go. It is Bundy facing Salvador Perez, who is the fifth hitter. 229, 3 homers, 14 home runs. We're in the middle of May, and we have only 2 guys here that have hit 8 home runs so far. We have a few more guys in stolen bases that are greater than 8. Like Taveras of St. Louis has 9. So, the way I have it set up, you're not going to see a lot of home runs, but you probably see more stolen bases than home runs, and that's fine. For my purposes anyway. Anthony Santander up. bottom of the fourth with one out. That's a pop fly. They had a shift to the right side, the Yankees did, but it went to the left fielder. I hope baseball never limits what you can do defensively. And they're talking about doing that because I know the batting averages in the American League have been way down this year. Of course, if I remember correctly, they were down last year too. But I never want to see them mess around with the defenses because it's another way where the game changes. I think if you're going to change it, if you're going to change how the defenses shift around, then I always think that the left fielder needs to be on the left side and the third baseman needs to be on the left side. I would support something like that, where the third baseman has to line up to the left of the shortstop, to the left of second base, and the left of first base. Now, I could live with something like that, and you got to make sure that the left fielder is to the left of the center fielder, to the left of the right fielder. I could live with something like that, but I don't want to see them, because that's something that's historically been in the game. But that, like extra innings, and then they changed that because of COVID and wanting to get the games over with fast. Still no score in the Rays-A's game, by the way, in real time, and they are in the top of the third. Nick Solak facing Alex Cobb, second time through the lineup for Cobb. That's another strikeout, 2 out in the top of the fifth. I like to replay past seasons, Tony Martin. Tony, thank you for coming in, by the way. The seasons of my youth, do you think OOTP is as accurate as Diamond Mine? That's a tough question, because the way OOTP works is that there are things historically that happen. I've never really messed around with just keeping the lineups historically based, but you can do that in OOTP. But the way the game is run is like, things can happen. Like I'll say the 1986 season, because that was one of my favorite seasons growing up when the Mets won it all over the Red Sox. Don't tell Al that. But I was a big Mets fan in 86 when they had Dwight Gooden, because he was from Tampa, and Tampa didn't have a major league team until 98. But things can happen in OATP if you don't use real lineups and if you don't use the historical action, that the timeline could be different. You could have players winding up on other teams, and I think that kind of rigs things a little bit one way or another. Like, for instance, what if who was a good team in 86? Say the Cubs. Say the Cubs made a couple of trades and they contended and they were able to somehow, fight tooth and nail with the Mets, because the Cubs were only 2 years removed from almost making the World Series in 84. So I'll just use the Cubs as an example. The timelines can change. It's like, theoretically, if you've ever read the Stephen King book, 11/22/63, where the character in the book goes back in time and things could historically change, where maybe Kennedy doesn't get assassinated, but something else winds up happening. When you play with one event in history, it could affect other events down the line. So I think if you're looking for a purely statistical game, OOTP could be that, but you have to look under the hood a little bit and figure out how to do it, because it's not just stats that they look at the ratings of the player. Varsho, the Yankees, that's a pop fly. Center fielder makes the grab, and there's one out. Actually, no, that was the last out of the top of the fifth. I'm sorry, folks. Can you tell I'm a little distracted? I'm 49. I'm too old to be getting ADD. Garrett Cooper up for St. Louis. That's a base hit up in the middle. But OOTP has such great depth in terms of what you can do with the game. Let me take your message down here, Tony. I have the book, Life Turns on a Dime. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you very much for that. 11/22/63. I heard the audio book on TuneIn a few years back, and that was Hello, Big Pauly. Hello, MV. How are you, sir? So Bundy facing Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb, in this league, he hits. He lays down a good bunt. Will they get him? They do not. They get the second baseman. They get the lead runner instead. But see, that's what I like about classic baseball. Pitchers hitting. Sometimes the pitchers can do things. Most of the time, that's not true. But sometimes. Plus, if they get a little too reckless with the hitters on the other team, a pitcher, they could be held accountable. Leody Taveras back up. 2-4-0 for St. Louis and 1-1-0 for the Yankees. And that's a fly to the center fielder. Was that the third out? Nope, the second out. Bundy is up to 63 pitches. Jeff McNeil is the second baseman. So the Browns are basically the Baltimore Orioles with free agents thrown in, and every team gets free agents because we just use 16 teams. And the 14 teams we don't use are free agents, and they were drafted by the various teams, 16 teams. So it's classic baseball. It's where everybody was at the end of World War II. So the Braves are in Boston. They hadn't moved to Milwaukee yet. The A's are in Philadelphia. They hadn't moved to Kansas City. And then later to Oakland. The Dodgers are in Brooklyn. The Giants are in New York. White Sox and the Cubs have always been in Chicago. The Browns are in St. Louis. They're not in Baltimore. And I have classic parks for all of these teams. And you could download them for free. Look for inventory of ballparks, OOTP, something like that. Good from the UK. Glad to see you are streaming OOTP 22. Thank you very much, sir. We were just talking about how we would have visitors from the United Kingdom when I did live chats. And I haven't done live chats for a while, and I apologize for that. I just find it easier to do things that could be edited out because I get a lot of phone calls from people that want to sell me shit I don't want to buy, pardon my language. And I wish my local phone carrier would just step in and just tell the people from these other countries who act like they use our numbers to just stop it. And I have Spectrum down here in the St. Pete, Tampa area, and I would just wish they would step in and say, to these nations in question, you're not going to be able to make these calls anymore. But I guess the technology doesn't exist. Tony chimes in. I have replayed the 1960s. Pirates beat Yankees again. 61, the Yankees beat the Milwaukee Braves. 62, the Giants beat the Yankees. I could see all those things happening, though. Alex Cobb against Aaron Hicks. And the Yankees in 60s probably should have won the World Series, but didn't. Biggio stole a base. That's 7 bases on the season. We're about mid-May. This is a 154-game season, like they used to have in the classic era of baseball. And the best 2 teams in each league, top team in each league, goes to the World Series, just like they used to do. So this is kind of a pet project of mine. Aaron Hicks trying to bring Biggio home here, and that's an out at first base. Didn't quite see what happened. So 2 outs in the top of the 6th. Cobb still going at 77 pitches. E.J. LeMahieu, watch out for him. He could be dangerous. But that's a grounder to the second baseman who threw over to first, and the side was retired in the 6th inning. Bottom of the 6th now, 2-1. This is a good show idea, actually, where I could just play various games for you all. Big Pauly's game night or something like that. And spend a couple hours playing the games I don't usually play on YouTube. This could be a thing. MV, I've had the most fun playing the Boston Red Sox from late 60s to the 70s when Reggie Smith ruled my universe. Reggie Smith, that was a good player. I think Reggie Smith is auction. Awesome. Whatever mode I play OOTP, such a great game. One of the things I do every year with OOTP, I didn't do it this year yet, is I try my hand at the 62 Mets, and I always seem to get shit canned by 65, no matter what I do. Jose Iglesias up for the Browns. They lead 2-1. Modern day players playing the game the way it used to be. The Classic League of Baseball, the CLOB, as I call it, the CLOB. Brian Anderson up, third baseman for the Browns. I think he was from Miami, the Miami Marlins, and we picked him up in the draft. Biggio didn't really have to move all that much to get that out. It's 2 outs, bottom of the 6th. It's 2-1. Salvador Perez. We looked at not OO, but Action PC Football 2021 earlier. I didn't really get into it too much because I know right now that Uncle Ron Juckett, hello, Uncle Ron, if you see this a little later on, is going under the hood of Action PC Football 2021 tonight. I don't want to steal his thunder. So we're going to do an unboxing episode on this channel Friday. And it'll give me a couple of days to look at this game, look at Action PC for myself. Luke Voigt up now, top of the 7th against Alex Cobb. I have a lot of admiration for Uncle Ron doing sports sims and the Retro Sports Network and what he does with this community. And he and Dave, and I was a listener to Digital to Dice for like a year and a half before I started doing this channel. They have a very deep passion for this, and I have all the admiration for those two gentlemen. And I gotta say, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing this. Orlando Arcia up for New York. But this is just like one thing you could do with OOTP. Like I said, you could play historically. If you could think of a scenario, you could probably do it. Okay, so we had a substitution. It is Charlie Blackmon, who is on the Yankees. Blackmon joined the evil empire in this sim. Blackmon can hit, but he doesn't hit it well this time. That's an out. And okay, I don't think I could play Take Me Out to the Ball Game, so we're just going to hit the button and hope we move along. That was the 7th inning stretch, and it's 2-1 St. Louis in the bottom of the 7th. Santander up, and I used the classic ratings, the scouting ratings in this sim, 20 being bad in an area and 80 being good, and it's in increments of 5. That's how they really do scouting in Major League Baseball. That's an out. We're down to the 7th hitter, Montcastle, the first baseman. And then as this league progresses, you see more and more fictitious players. And that's fine too, but I wanted to start with the real players as of 2020 and then work forward. Garrett Cooper up for the Browns. He strikes out. So we go to the 8th. Pitching doing well in this game. It's 2-1 Browns. Going now. Oh, no, we have one. I thought that was the 3rd out. See how disoriented I am? Alex Cobb hitting, because you can do that in CLOB, and that's a walk. They walked the pitcher. Oh, goodness. Tony, I'm 64 and a Red Sox fan. They tested my faith when they traded my favorite player, Ken the Hawk Harrelson. Well, Harrelson had a good career after that. He was a great commentator for the Chicago White Sox. Even though I was never a White Sox fan, I enjoyed listening to him because, the guy lived, ate, and drank baseball. And when he got excited about something, he did it in his own unique way. So the Browns have the sacks full here. Bundy is still out there. They bring in Devi Garcia to spell him finally in the bottom of the seventh. So he went 6 2/3. But the Browns, looking for that all-important base hit, and they get it. That's going to score 2 runs. Look at the play of the plate. He's safe. 2-run signal for McNeil, and the Browns have a little bit more breathing room, up 4-1. Jose Iglesias, the new St. Louis hitter. That's hit well. Was it caught? It was. Sometimes with these angles, you can't really tell. 4-2 in favor of 4-1 in favor of the St. Louis Browns. A good one would be a Colorado Rockies historical career with talent engine on. Can they win a World Series before the Now that would be a good one, MV. That would be a good one indeed. The problem with Colorado is, at that altitude, and of course they started. I think they played 1 year at Mile High, maybe 2, and then they moved to Coors Field. You could have some wild games in Colorado, and of course there have been. You could have a 10-9 game just as easily as you could have a 3-2 game. And trying to figure out the balance between good hitting and good pitching for a team like Colorado would be difficult. Clint Frazier up against Alex Cobb, who's still going into the 8th. Another thing about the Club is that I don't mess around with the stamina, but the pitchers go longer because not a lot of hitters are hitting home runs, because I set the odds of hitting a home run or third base, a triple, a double, a single, and so forth, up with the park dimensions. Of course, in Sportsman's Park, you got the 310 to right field, to the right field foul line. So if you got a good lefty pull hitter, you're in luck. So we have a runner at first, which is Iglesias. And you got, no, I'm sorry, folks. That is Frazier at first. So Frazier did not go down. Down goes Frazier. Top of the 8th, 1 out. Could get a double play here, and we have a relief pitcher in who I did not catch for the Browns. Did they turn to 2? Got it. They got at least 1 out. Frazier moved to second, but again, his run is insignificant right now with the 4-1 score. 2 outs, top of the 8th, and that brings up Aaron Hicks for New York. And that's a strikeout, so the Browns get out of a jam. MV saying, you ever notice how Hard Luck followed Gene Mauch around? Like Gene Mauch was was the skipper of the 64 Phillies and the 86 Angels. You're right. And the Angels, what a hard luck break they got. They were a pitch away from going to the World Series, and they did not get there. So St. Louis hitting in the bottom of the 8th, and it's 4-1. Alroydis Chapman, who isn't prominently featured on this Yankee team, because, of course, these Yankees have a whole bunch of players from other teams on it. Of course, he's got that blazing fastball, 65 stuff, but not too good in terms of movement and control. So he will pitch in the bottom of the 8th. And that's sharply hit with the crack of the bat. Let's see where the ball goes. Caught by the left fielder for the first out. Yeah, Hard Luck always seemed to follow Mauch around. Salvador Perez up, facing Chapman. And Perez gets lucky and draws the walk. But if Chapman is not as good as he used to be with his movement and control, he might be a little wild. Santander now up, the 6-hitter. Poked to right field, maybe to the outside of the infield. No, it was caught by the second baseman. And there are 2 outs in the 8th. And we have Ryan Mountcastle up again. And that's what was that? Intentional walk? Nope, it was the unintentional walk. Do I ever play second and 10? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I play. I don't usually like to have more than one game for any sport. But with football, I make an exception. I have Action PC Football, I have Second and 10, and I have Pro Strategy Football. Uh, Most of the time I play Action PC, but I think Second and 10 isn't too bad if you want to play college football because you get scores of college football teams for free from the past. And with you have to pay a little to get the more modern seasons. Like I don't think they have put out the 2020 college season yet, because of course a lot of teams are in the FCS are still playing. Or up until very recently were playing, like North Dakota State and so forth. That's a very, very good game, second and 10. If you just want to get your feet wet, they do things a very unique way. And I would put it right up there with Action PC, and I would put it right up there with Pro Strategy Football. Base is loaded now for the Browns as they want to put a little more hurt on the Yankees before the third out is recorded. Cisco, he gets plunked, and that brings in a run. The NFL teams are free. Yes, the NFL teams are free. Very good, NW. And I always liked the colleges because you could do what you want with the colleges. But yeah, you get the NFL teams for free. Not only that, you get the USFL teams for free. You get the AAFC teams for free. You get, what other leagues have been out there? The WFL teams for free. XFL, I think of the XFL of 2000. I don't know if they're going to put the abortive 2020 XFL in there. And what was the other league that was around for a little bit in the 2010s? The UFL, I think it was, when they had 4 teams. So you could have a whole league just with the non-NFL teams if you wanted to. Tavares up. We'll see if St. Louis can add to their total. They do. A base hit to right just beyond the second baseman. 2-run score. It's 7-1. St. Louis ahead here. You're quite correct, MV. Yes, the NFL teams are free. And you get the NFL teams, I think, going back to 1933. Action PC, you have to pay for them, but you could go back to the very first league of the NFL, first year of the NFL, when they were the APFA in 1920. I nearly picked that up tonight. I nearly picked up the 1920 APFA. It'd be fun to play a pro football game from 1920, back when they didn't know what the heck they were doing with their league, and they did figure out, every team plays a set schedule, plays the same number of games. Jeff McNeil up, bottom of the 8th. St. Louis still looking to pile on here. They went. The Yankees brought in a reliever to relieve Chapman, and the Yankees finally get out of the inning. MV, wasn't second and 10 at one point a dice game? Kind of started out how wrestling's finest started out. DJ LeMahieu up for the Yankees in the top of the 9th. Strike 3, so that's 2 outs left to get. We're still at 8-18. The Yankees and the A's and the Rays, the game I'm looking at on my monitor, is scoreless after 3. Dylan Tate against Mook Voigt. I use 25-man rosters in this league. I don't use 26 or 27. Again, another old rule. And, this is my celebration of the way baseball used to be. This is why I kind of created this league for myself. Dylan Tate now facing Urshela, who got the only run for the Yankees in this game, which was a homer. And Urshela hit it well. Will it stay in the park? No, it goes all the way to the wall. It was a gapper. And Urshela rounding second, and he's in there with a double. So not over yet. Orlando Arcia It's funny how the Yankees suck in this game and they suck in real life in 2021. I hope I'm not pissing off any Yankee fans saying that, but that's kind of the way it is for them right now. Okay, this should end the game. Pitcher scoops it up, throws to first, and the Yankees lose. The Yankees lose 7-1. Browns executed pretty well because they have 7 runs on 7 hits, and that's kind of what you want to see. And the Yankees a run on 5 hits, so they missed their opportunities. Who was the player of the game? It was Alex Cobb. Cobb went 7 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run earned. So I thought I would show you that. Now I'll come back to you live and edit, get out of OOTP. Because I get too wound up with the perfect team. And there is a lot more with OOTP that you could do than just play Perfect Team. Perfect Team's kind of like Jim Rummy with baseball players. That's all. That's kind of, or poker with baseball players, or Pokemon for some of you younger fans with baseball players. I think OOTP does a great job with the player performance. I remember playing as the Mets in 2014 and could tell they were going to contend. Yeah. And it was the year after that they went to the World Series, if I'm not mistaken. They lost to the Royals. Back to what we were talking about with 2nd and 10. I never played the dice game, but I remember when I picked up the computer version back in the old days, they mentioned the board game. Yeah, and if you set up 2nd and 10 a certain way on your computer, you could see the dice. And I think they used 4 6-sided dice, and that worked for them. Very much so. What else is going on? Kind of hoping to go to 9 o'clock, but I kind of think tonight's chat has run its course. I thank you all for dropping by. Thank you to Al Red Sox fan, Brendan Baker, Luke Brown, and W, Tony Martin. We had Super Bowl tournament. We had Super Bowl tournament drop by, and I totally missed it. And they did a sim this morning, as I record this, the morning of the 28th, where they were going through, I think it was the 1990s and various seasons and the different Super Bowl matchups that it produced as opposed to, what was the game they were comparing? I think it was Action PC that they were comparing it to. Just want to say hello and acknowledge everybody who dropped by. Brendan Baker, Luke Brown, Al Red Sox fan, and yeah, Super Bowl tournament. I'm sorry you didn't stay longer, sir. But it was good to have you all drop by. And I think I'm going to make this more of a thing in the future. I'd love to do what Al does and interview a few of the figures in the sports gaming field. And I think that would help all of the channels and all of the games grow if I started doing that. So we will look into doing that in the future, in the 2nd year that's coming up, which we're technically in with this channel. I thank you all again for dropping by. I'm sure some of you want to go see President Biden's speech tonight here in the United States as he's speaking to Congress, and I think there is some limit in terms of who can attend the speech tonight. So I will bid you all adieu. Thanks, BP. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Tony Martin, yeah. Title Bout, I used to have Title Bout 2.5, and I thought up until Glory Days Boxing Around, that was the best game around. Go check that game out. It is fantastic. It's kind of the Stratomatic of boxing, and the way Anthony sets it up with the 6-die roll and the ring general stars, I think is perfect. I think it captures boxing a lot better than Title Bout did. Although Title Bout was the top boxing game for a long, long time, I think Glory Days is the heir apparent to that. So guys, love Title Bout. Oh yeah, Title Bout was fantastic, and it probably still is. So I'm going to bid you all adieu. We were on tonight an hour and 24 minutes, and somehow I got through it without too much trouble. Godspeed and God bless everybody. We're going to do it again soon. Bye-bye for now.